All right, welcome back into the Rounding Third podcast. I'm Nick. We got Harrison tonight, and we also have a special guest, Anthony Delfonso. We'll get to him in a second. How we doing, fellas?
Good.
Doing well.
Awesome. All right, so before take two. Okay, before we get going, just follow and like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. So here we go. We have Anthony Delfonso from Westbrook, Maine. He has founded Triple Crown Baseball and Softball Hitting Academy, which Harrison's sporting. You can see some of Delfonso's jerseys and stuff and where he's played previously. So yeah, I've had the pleasure of knowing Anthony for quite a while now. We played together at SMCC and tore it up for a fall season. It wasn't really even fair to have us hitting 3-4.
Doesn't seem right to let you guys play together at SMCC.
It really wasn't. Anthony and I were talking earlier. That team easily could have taken on any team in the state that fall. It was loaded top to bottom. We had pitching, we had hitting. It was out of control. But
yeah, we had a tough team.
And you're a Hall of Famer there, right? You're a Hall of Famer at SMCC.
Yes, sir.
And then how long did you play there before you transferred over to USM?
I ended up playing the full term. I went 2 years, and then I moved over to USM.
Yep. And then talk about your career a little bit there with Ed Flaherty, and that. I mean, that's such a prestigious program that, it's been a huge program for Maine for college baseball. I mean, it's nationally known. And you tore it up there as well. Just talk about your experience at USM a little bit over there.
So got into USM, went into my first meeting, met Coach Flaherty. Great guy. I walked in, I had earrings in. As you know, I was a bit of a wild card at SMCC. So going back to those days, it's a good thing we can all grow. And he looked at me, Coach Flaherty, in our first meeting, and he said, "Your dad was the toughest guy on the block. He would have kicked your you-know-what if he knew you had those earrings on." And from that point on, I took off my earrings and I got serious about my career. I went in my first batting practice. I have to tell this story. I tell it to anybody I talk to about my career. I went in and I hit probably 11 out of 13 home runs. And this is the God's honest truth. Flaherty says, "Great swings. Now, don't come back until you have every one of my brand new baseballs you just hit over the fence." So I didn't even practice after BP at USM for about an hour and a half because I don't know if you've been behind the field at USM. There's nothing but swamp and muck and trees. So I'm out there in brand new turfs or cleats after taking batting practice. And by the time I found like the 7th or 8th ball, I was so irritated. I just started hurling them back in and saying incoming because I was like, man, this isn't what I thought it would be like going to USM. But that was the first experience. Then Coach Flaherty and I got along quite well. Played my first year there, had a bunch of great players. I ended up, playing with. I played with Chris Burleson and, Colin Henry, Mark Schmidt, Tim Terrian as a closer. We had some really good talent, and we made a couple of good runs when I was there. I played there in 08 and 09, 07, 08, 09 seasons.
Yeah. I remember watching a postseason run. I can't remember which game it was, but it was on. It was like some random house, and they were streaming it. And I was like, that's Delfonso. He's like, comes up, and I was like, dang. It was like really cool. But how far did you guys get in the tournament that year?
So we went to the regionals my first year. Nobody was expecting anything, and we either lost in the first game of the championship or we lost the game before the championship. And then my second year, we were ranked 1 in the country for like 2 weeks. At one point, we won 23 in a row or 25. I don't remember the exact number. And then we ran into a buzzsaw in our region. We had the number 1 team in the country, which was Trinity. I don't know that they lost a game that year. We had Eastern Connecticut, who was getting everybody from UConn to come play there that didn't play at UConn. They came right down.
Always good.
So we had in our region, we had the 1, the 3, and the 7 in the country in Division III baseball. So I mean, we didn't see anybody that was throwing under 92, 93.
Yeah. The furthest I ever went, because I played at St. Joe's, the furthest I went, we had Charlie Furbush on our team his freshman and sophomore year. And we go 38-6, but we weren't in a conference. So we were looking for an at-large bid to the NCAAs and didn't get it. So they sent us to the ECACs, which is like the NIT of the NCAA tournament. And we faced this kid from Babson, and he was throwing 97. I mean, it was just like, dude, what are you doing in D3 baseball, first of all? Right. Second of all, I mean, and we had Charlie, and Charlie was a stud. You know, he was 92, 93, and a devastating changeup. Like, you just don't see that kind of pitching in D3, well, until you get to the tournament. And it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, so we had, like, our weekday games, it would be guys throwing, I would say, 82 to 85, decent breaking stuff. Your weekend series, even at USM, I mean, you play Econ, Eastern Connecticut. There was this kid, Sean Gilblair, and he was throwing in the low 90s, lefty. Matt Fontaine. I mean, there was guys that could really bring it. And the weekend games were no joke. I don't think there was much of a difference back then between our weekend games and some high-level D2 to low-level D1 colleges, in all honesty.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that, and we'll get to that in a minute. I think that the talent in New England and Maine has been underappreciated, and it's getting better. But yeah, I agree. I saw some guys that were throwing, high cheddar, but you play at that level, no matter what division you're in, like, you're seeing the cream of the crop. You're seeing some great talent, no matter what division it is.
No question. If you're facing top talent in Division III, you are facing great talent. I mean, and kids could have gotten overlooked for any reason. And also you have late bloomers, and you have kids that outwork kids that have been told they're good their whole lives. And they're just like, all right, I was down here to Division III. Let's really work hard and bring it. And, some kids are pretty good. That year, that Trinity in 2009 had a pitcher drafted, a catcher. I mean, Econ had a bunch of pros. USM had pros. So it was just a matter of getting seen at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. And that's what and having good coaches too, that will put you in that spot to be recognized too, I think is very important as well.
It is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you made the jump to USM, Anthony, were you just going to USM in hopes you were going to play, or had you already talked to Coach Flaherty and been recruited to actually make the move and go play at USM?
I talked to Vinny DeGifico, rest in peace, Vinny. We had spoken. He actually called when they were at their regional in 2006, I believe, or 2006. And I picked up the phone. He says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "I think I'm warming up to play at SMCC, Vinny." And he says, "Yeah, we need a hitter." And I said, "Okay." And Coach Flaherty and Vinny brought me over. And I back then I worked so hard at hitting, and I trained so hard, as Nick can attest to, that I went in and I didn't necessarily expect to play, but I knew if I worked hard enough that I could go over there and play. And I had to earn a spot. Flaherty definitely didn't give me anything, but you go over there expecting to play when you're that age, because I guess you have that confidence and that cockiness about you when you're a college kid that, hey, I can play anywhere. So I guess I carried that a little bit about me when I went to play at USM.
Yeah. Yeah, those are always fun games for us, like being at St. Joe's, being 5 minutes down the road, like always going into the USM. I love that field. I love the stadium behind it, but it was always a tough game. Like, that was always circled on our schedule. Our goal was to split with you guys. I mean, like, you guys were that good at that time, always. I mean, I'm a couple years ahead of you. But I mean, USM was still USM at that point. Like, they're great talent guys all the way down through.
Yeah, they were. It's funny how Flaherty would approach some of those games, and I'm not saying anything negatively about St. Joe's, but sometimes he would pitch a guy who's been a starter the whole year. We'd get like a mid-relief pitcher. He'd say, "All right, go pitch 2 or 3 innings," and then we'd get beat by St. Joe's, and it'd be like, well, what did you expect? You just put a kid who's a mid-reliever in to start, and we would lose. So, if you really wanted to win, pitch somebody that you pitch on the weekend, but he loved the weekend in conference games so much. He would really focus on those games.
Well, I mean, and those are more important when you come down to it. Like those are the games that really matter. Like you're not gonna like it was Red Sox Yankees there for a while, where USM's the Yankees just absolutely kicking the crap out of the Red Sox. You know.
Yep. Yeah, and now the talent's dispersed so much. I mean, you see talent everywhere. Bates, Thomas, St. Joe's, USM. I mean, SMCC. You see talent all over the state. And, you know, it used to be kind of a little bit easy at USM to get the talent because you got UMaine's overflow and you can only carry so many on a roster. So kids that either went out of state, you know, Franklin Pierce, UMaine, other schools that couldn't really play there, they'd come home to USM. They could play at USM because they were a Division II or I talent that just, for some reason, it didn't work out. Now it's a little bit different. You know, everyone's not filtering through USM to UMaine. It's, you know, the talent's dispersing quite a bit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you finish up your career at USM. You have a damn good career at USM. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. And then where did you go after you left USM?
So I went from USM and I went to Traverse City, Michigan. Played for the Traverse City Beach Bums, right in Michigan. It was unbelievable. It was a truly awesome time.
And are they independent league? What are they?
That was in the Frontier League.
Frontier League.
Yeah, and I went there, and I was just coming off my first meniscus surgery. So I had meniscus surgery. I went there. I had an early home run, had a couple, a few good at bats, but they ultimately brought in somebody who had been playing, had a ton of experience, and I ended up kind of, getting sporadic at bats here and there because of my lack of consistency when I was there. Just, when you're unsure, when you're, as big and wide as I was at the time, you're unsure about your footwork as a hitter. It's very detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't understand, like, baseball, how much of it actually is mental too. Like, you get into that little slump, it gets into your head, and then you're stuck. And it's sometimes hard to get out. It really is.
Well, especially when they have a kid who played at South Carolina and got drafted in the top 10 rounds breathing down your neck, even though you're not in contention for any playoff spot. It's like, that pressure to perform is there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as a hitter, the worst thing you can do is be up there thinking. Like I always used to laugh. Like when I was hitting best, it was when my brain was basically off. Like I'm just reacting. I'm not thinking. I'm not talking to myself. I'm just, my brain is literally off and I'm reacting. But when you when you have those thoughts in your head about this or that, or how you feel or how you're going to plant, it, boy, does it screw you right up.
Yeah.
Oh, we freeze? Did I freeze?
No, you're good.
Okay. Oh, let's see if he comes back on. What happened? My goodness, we're cruising.
I know, we're flying through it.
But my gosh. All right. Well, let's see if he. Oh, I just tried to hide it.
There.
Yeah. Let's see if he comes back.
All right. We'll come back. We'll jump into some news.
Because.
Okay. So yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, there we go. I think he's back. Are you back? You good?
Mine. Sorry, I don't know if that was on my end or.
It's all good. Yeah, you just froze a little bit. It's all right. But
okay, yeah.
So independent league, and then you go on to where from Traverse City?
So I go from Traverse City, come home, not knowing what I'm going to do now, in Yuma, Arizona, which was a complete rude awakening. I went and played for, I want to say 30 games, and I didn't receive a paycheck. So having not received a paycheck, everybody got asked to restructure their contract. And I was like, how can I restructure something I never made money on? And so I knew by signing a contract that I would have to wait at least another 30 days, most likely, to get paid anything. And I was basically living in a hotel room, no car, the life of an independent baseball player isn't glamorous,
Right.
So I didn't re-sign the contract. I ended up playing really well there. And then I said, I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I just stopped playing for the Golden League in Yuma. And then I get a call from a guy named Luke Powell. And I'm like, who's Luke Powell? And he says, I know people in Mexico and we want you to come try out.
That's awesome. So you head on to Mexico and you put up some incredible numbers there. Triple Crown year. And then, I mean, how was that climate in Mexico different from like American baseball?
It was totally different. The key for anybody that's watching is if you get a cab in Mexico, get one with the windows up, because that means they have air conditioning. So you get to the field at about 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, go through your warm-ups, you're running, you're hitting, and it was about 110 to 115 degrees. So, I mean, you have the wet towels on you, the fans, trying to find any shade you can. It's completely different because at USM, when you start the season, as you know, between at bats and innings, you're in a jacket and a winter hat. It's a far cry from that when you're in Mexico.
Yeah, you're shoveling off the base paths in between at bats. Like, yeah, I've been there. It's brutal.
Yeah, so you get to Mexico and it's a culture shock. You try to do as little as possible during BP to conserve energy while still getting yourself prepared for the game. It's a very fine line.
Yeah.
I had a tryout. When I got there, I had just taken BP that day with my mother used to throw me batting practice. I took hands were completely blistered because of how the moisture would suck up in your batting gloves. And so I get this call, hey, come over and take practice. We want you to come play at San Luis. So San Luis, Mexico borders Yuma. So I take the half-hour drive. My hands are blistered and bleeding, and I'm like, if this is my path, and this is where I'm headed. So I go down there. I take some batting practice, and I can hit batting practice with anybody. So I did well, and I got signed. And I'm thinking, all right, I'll take batting practice. I'll leave. That wasn't the case. I took batting practice. I got signed. I played that night, and they're like, oh, by the way, you're facing the number one pitcher in the league, and you're hitting fourth. And I was like, okay, here we go. No games for like a couple months. All of a sudden, I'm ready. I'm hitting fourth. And in Mexico, you can only have 5 foreigners on a team. So it's not like America. You get 5 foreigners that are outside of being a Mexican descent. So to stay on a team where you're one of the top 5, it's very difficult to do. And I didn't sign a contract when I was there. So basically, when you're up there hitting, it's life or death. And if you have a good enough week, they hand you an envelope on Friday with your money. If you don't, then all of a sudden, it might be, here's your envelope. We'll call you if we need you again. It's very cutthroat.
Dang.
So yeah, that night I get out there and I go 1 for 3. I play that season, and this is where it gets funny because we weren't in playoff contention. So I hit like 320 that year. End of the season comes, and you have to learn the way of how Mexico works with baseball. And I get told, hey, you're getting sold to another team hours south in Mexico. And I was like, excuse me? And they're like, yeah, you're getting sold. They're taking cash considerations for you to go play playoffs with them. So here I am. At the time, my ex, my mother, we're in my ex's red BMW 320. So we stand out like a sore thumb. We're driving through the middle of Mexico, through checkpoints and everything. It was one of the scariest times of my life. We go down there, we lose the series, and I come home. I was honestly thankful to be home, but that's how my first season ended in Mexico. So I had to kind of learn the lay of the land.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we got pulled over in Mexico. They told us, we had been driving 8 hours. They told us that we ran a red light, and so they wanted money, essentially. We didn't run a red light. We were following the bus the whole way to the hotel. And I said, we don't speak Spanish. I learned some Spanish along the way, but they wanted 80. They kept saying ochenta. And I said, what do they want? I knew they wanted money. They wanted 80 pesos, which is about the equivalent to $6 in America. Okay. We had no idea. My mother handed them 1,000 pesos, which was about $90 in American money. And so they left us alone. They were happy as could be. And that was my very first year in Mexico. And that was about as interesting as it got.
What an experience.
Dude, I would have had to change my pants about 5 times.
Yeah, they kept asking me to come down to the police station. They kept saying, like, policia. I was like, no. And I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, what do you have for money? And I just knew ocho from Spanish or whatever meant 8. So I'm like, they couldn't possibly want $8. Like, are you really going to waste your time? And they would have too, because the average salary weekly is like $15. So here they are. We gave each of the officers a 500 pesos. Here you go. Off we went. We were safe forever. And just getting out of there, it was so scary between border crossings and checkpoints. You pull up to a checkpoint, it's pitch dark. And all of a sudden, it's like being on a haunted walk. The lights come on, and there's a bunch of guys with automatic weapons, and you're like, "Am I going to survive this, or am I not going to survive?" We'll find out in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's when you're not even thinking about baseball at all at that point. You're just like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?"
Yeah, you're questioning every life decision that led you to be in front of those men with those weapons.
Yeah, what did I do in my life to get me at this point right now?
Yeah, 100%. It was so. That was my first year. So I'm like, whoa, what's going on?
And you went back.
So year 2 comes around. This is where my career gets super interesting. I had signed with a team in California with a coach, Gary Templeton. Coach Gary Templeton was an ex-big leaguer. So he signs me, and we get 1 week from the season. So the Mexican League season starts in March, April. Independent starts after that, May or June. And so we're 1 or 2 weeks away from the season, and I get a call, "Hey, Anthony, we don't have the funding." And this isn't uncommon in independent leagues. "We don't have the funding. Our team's folding." So here I am. I'm scrambling. Mexico is probably, a few weeks into their season by now. And I don't know what to do. I'm in Yuma, Arizona. My mother and I are living in an RV, and I'm like, "Listen, let's go over there, talk to them." I'm WhatsApping, emailing this woman, Lisa. She speaks English. Her husband owns a team, Fausto. Their 2 kids speak English and Spanish. So I'm, Instagram, WhatsApp, anything I can to get a hold of them. And I get over there, and they have this guy who's really good, Patrick Brooks. He became one of my friends. But the minute that I got there and had a conversation with the owners, they made him pack his bags and leave, because I had already proven what I could do in Mexico. So, he packed his bags, went on, did his own thing. Great player. And then they ended up bringing him back later in the year for somebody else. But it was kind of like, if you're proven over there, you are going to have the opportunity to come back and play. So that year I played a condensed season. I played probably 2 or 3 weeks from the first half of the season. Then I played the second half. I think I hit around 340. Our team, again, I don't know that we made the playoffs this year. I wasn't going in another direction on a playoff team. I just told them, when the season's done, I'm going to go find something else to do. So that's exactly what I did. That was year 2.
Yeah. And then
so now
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was segmenting you into the next part.
So now we're coming on to year 3, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to make the mistake to sign with another independent league, because this is 2 years in a row. Mexico was loyal to me, and I'm big into loyalty. I was like, absolutely. I didn't get drafted. I went to play independent ball, blah, blah, blah. These guys are loyal. The money comes in. Not that it's all about the money, but my mom got tired of me running up her credit card, so I had to pay my own bills. You know what I mean? So year 3 comes, and I'm like, let's just go to Mexico, period. That's where I'm going. That's where I want to be. So I have the owners get me my own apartment this year. They're like, you'll be more comfortable. So I have my own apartment. I have Wi-Fi. They're bringing me food. I have utensils, cookware, you name it. I'm comfortable.
Moving up.
Moving up in the world. It's not like it was where I used to have to drive from Yuma to the border, park at the border, take a walk about 500 or 600 yards to get a cab to the field. So now it's like, wait a minute. Now I'm like, all right, I'm comfortable. My car's here. I'm locked in. So this is year three. So I get in, we get playing. I'm playing with Randall Simon. Randall Simon, he's an ex-big leaguer. He's the guy who hit the sausage in the mascot race against the Brewers. Yep. And so that, by the way, has cost him not being able to be a manager because he is super smart. He speaks 5 languages, and he should be a manager in the major leagues, but they're blacklisted him because of that.
That's terrible.
And so he's hitting third, and he becomes a really good friend of mine. And he and I are traveling together. He's like, don't take the bus, just come with me. And I'm like, all right, no problem. This is great. I'd get a little bus sick. He had his own car. He lived in Tijuana. And so he and I are hitting back to back. You know, we got things going. He's not hitting as good as they like. They had a league salary cap of $3,000 a month. You know, they stretched it. If you had ex-big leaguers playing, they stretched it. They were probably giving him 5 or 6. So they were expecting big things from him. So quick side story. I go sleep over his house. We have a series in Tijuana. I go sleep over his house. This is the God's honest truth. He's got all his ex-big league memorabilia on the floor, like a bunch of quarters in this beautiful room. I look down, I look up, I look over. There's signed baseballs by Sammy Sosa. There's signed this by Michael Jordan because he played in Chicago. There's bat bags. And I'm like, Randall, what is all this stuff? He goes, oh, that's just some memorabilia stuff. I'm like, just some memorabilia signed by, you know, one of the home run leaders or one of the best basketball players ever. It was like nothing to him. And I was like, that was super cool. But so he and I played together. I hit really well. I hit like probably 360, 370 that year with 7 or 8 homers. I wasn't really hitting for home runs, but mid-season they cut him. And I was like, man, I can't believe we cut this guy. So we picked up a couple closers and we had a good season. I met halfway through the year, I met my buddy Jesse Estrada. He is a 6'8" pitcher from Texas. He played in America, got up to AAA, and he was going in to pitch in New York Yankee Stadium. They said, hey, you warm? He's like, yeah, I'm ready. Next thing you know, Robinson Cano at the time hits into a double play, and he never got into the big leagues because of that double play. No. They sent him back down to AAA after that, and I met him. He's one of my close friends to this day. He pitches for the Maryland Blue Crabs, and he came on. He ended up winning the Triple Crown for pitching. He had the most complete games. I mean, this kid was just unbelievable. So he helped lead us to our first league championship, which we won in Tijuana, and that was fun. But year 4 was by far my best year. So that segues into year 4 in Mexico. And so year 4 starts out, and it's pretty much the same thing. I'm living in Mexico. I have all the amenities I could ask for. And honestly, at this point, I'm killing the baseball. I was a super tough out. I was working out hard, hitting every day. We get to the halfway point. I'm an all-star, and I ended up being in the home run derby. I won that.
So let's pause there because we have a video clip that we're going to play of Anthony doing the home run derby here. So Harrison's going to pull it up and you can just kind of talk us through it as this is playing. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
this is such an awesome thing. Like, this stadium's nice. This is such a cool opportunity.
This is where the championship was, 2013. That's the manager of Ensenada. My manager threw horrible BP, so I asked him to throw to me.
So awesome. Was the elevation like there too? Like, such a sweet swing. So how many did you hit in the derby combined? standard.
That was crushed.
Yeah, that was absolutely hammered. All right, let's see. It said the video kind of hit him out.
All right, let's kill the.
Yeah.
That video's over.
So awesome. All right, let's see. Can you hear us all right? Oh, we lost his audio, so the video's shooting him out. That's so dumb.
Makes no sense.
No. All right. Yeah. See if we can get him to close out and rejoin.
Yeah. That was sick though, to go through a home run derby down in Mexico.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like year 4 sounds like his big year for sure. So
Oh yeah.
I mean
I can't imagine living through that first year, driving through checkpoints, getting sent all over the Mexican countryside, and then you go back. You go back for more.
That's absolutely wild. I can't even imagine. We were just talking about your first year, like just being like, I don't know if I could have ever gone back after that. Oh, lost him again. But yeah, it's really, really insane.
Yeah, I cannot imagine going through that and then be like, yeah, I'll go do that again.
But to have like the family support too behind him, like that's awesome. That's incredible.
Well, yeah, he's sleeping in an RV with his mother, and like it's clearly the family very much behind what he's doing and willing to put in the effort with him. And I mean, that's the one thing people I don't think realize for a lot of these guys, that whether they're in the minors, they go pro, like it's a whole family event. Like it's not one person getting there. The support system it requires is intense.
Yeah, I mean, just the travel alone, like you don't even think about the fact that like you're living paycheck to paycheck, because I mean those guys in the minors, independent leagues, like all that stuff, like it's crazy.
Yeah, you make no money, and in his case, even when you sign a contract, you don't get paid.
That's nuts that they would just hand you an envelope at the end of the week and it either has money in it or it doesn't.
Well, and what I find so amazing too is how many times these independent teams, to his point, you get all geared up for the season, and they call you like, oh yeah, by the way, no money, we're gonna shut it down, and you're like, I uprooted my whole life to come here to play for this team, get ready for the season. Now there's going to be no season at the last minute, and I've missed all these other opportunities to go play somewhere that actually would have taken care of me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely wild. So we're still trying to get Anthony back on here. I think the video kind of kicked him out. I don't know exactly what happened. But yeah, we'll get him. But yeah, so while we're kind of waiting, he has, like I said, Triple Crown Baseball and Softball Hitting Academy. He has his Instagram handle right here on the bottom. So you are able to hit him up for appointments and stuff like that. Can you hear us now? Are you good?
Yeah, I think that video I sent you guys messed up a little bit.
It's all good. We just won't play the other one.
Yeah, we'll take the videos out.
We can talk about that one, and we can just show them that it's on YouTube because it's pretty awesome. So go ahead. So we're year four. You're on the home run. You're doing the home run derby. You win the home run derby.
Yeah, I won the home run derby and played the All-Star game, and off we went. Our team ended up not losing a series the entire second half, so we were rolling. We had everything clicking. We had a closer throwing about 100 miles an hour, and we get to the opening series in the first round of the playoffs, and all of a sudden we steamrolled everybody. To be honest, we had played San Quentin in the finals, and we got to bring home a championship to the town of San Luis. And our field could only hold, our stadium, probably 2,000 to 4,000 people, but they let as many as that wanted to come in. I mean, they had standing room only, so it felt like everybody was on top of you. It felt like, you were playing in front of thousands of people, and and we won it in front of our home crowd, and it was one of the best celebrations that, I don't know if you guys know, but some Mexicans, I'm not trying to stereotype them, but boy, they can party like it's 1999.
I'm sure.
So we had a celebration forever, it felt like, and we kind of had to pick it up quick. My buddy Jesse and I ended up going to play in El Paso, Texas, in I believe it's the American Association, or it was the Atlantic League right after that. So I had like a day and a half to clean out my apartment, and then it was right on to the next season. Damn. So I went down there and I played another 30 or 40 games for the El Paso Diablos, and that was a blast as well. So I ended up getting in 100, about 100 games that summer, 110 games.
So sick.
It was awesome.
I don't think I ever got a chance to play 100 games in my career.
It was like my whole high school career.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, being in Maine baseball, you got 16 regular season games and like 4 playoff games. You're like, thanks for coming. That's it.
Yeah, it is true. You have no time if you get into a slump in Maine to get yourself out of it. It's super difficult, right? I mean, you have no time to work your way out.
Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, I played varsity baseball all 4 years. My junior year, I was slumping hard. Like my first 3 games, I was like 0 and then I think I hit like 200. And then like my senior year, I came on and started out strong. And then, your average is high. Like you have 1 or 2 bad games in Maine, your average is in the crapper. It's crazy.
Yeah, nowadays with Game Changer, that's all any coaches are looking at, because no scouts are coming out to Maine games in the spring when it's 42 degrees and they could be watching some kid in Georgia where it's 68 and sunny.
Right. And they already have 85 games under their belt.
Yeah, it's totally different. So, that season wrapped up for me, and I got a call to go play in the Pacific Coast League. And the Pacific Coast League is one of the most sought after winter leagues that there is. It was in the middle of Mexico. I had to take a plane the size of my Ford F-150, and it was very scary. But I got there, and that's when you find out the real business side of baseball, because I was one of the 5 foreigners again, but this was different. I felt like it was different because I got there and I didn't start the first spring training game. And I was like, why am I not, what's going on? And I kind of get the gist of like learning the lay of the land again, in terms of they were waiting, because it's winter league, they were waiting for the big league season to come to a conclusion. And then they were going to sign big leaguers to come down with experience in that league and take guys without experience's position. So I get there, we're on a bus trip. You can only carry so many players. And I'm like, what is going on? So I look, the first bus trip, my name's not even on the roster. So I'm like, I can travel, work out, take batting practice. I can't play. And I'm like, what is going on? I just came off a Triple Crown year. I'm thinking, this is it. I'm going to keep moving up, and eventually I'll come over and play in the minors or big leagues in America. And so I don't play the first game. Game number 2 comes, I'm on the roster, not in the starting lineup. Get a pinch hit, get a hit. So I'm 1 for 1. Next game comes around. I am on the roster. I start. I go 0 for 2 with a walk. So I'm like, I'm 1 for 3. Whatever it ends up being, I play 4 or 5 games in spring training. I ended up 3 for 7 with a walk. And I get a call, and this is how ruthless the business aspect of the game was I get a call coming home. We had a 3-hour bus trip to the middle of nowhere, Mexico. My phone rings to my hotel room, wakes my roommate up at 12:30 a.m. I'm exhausted. Hey, Anthony, come down to the lobby. General manager wants to talk to you. General manager was somebody high up in the Oakland A's, high up in the Oakland Athletics organization. I mean, everybody there had past big league experience, or they were a manager or a general manager or someone high up in an organization in the big leagues. And I'm like, they didn't call me down there to have an early breakfast. I'm not an idiot.
Right.
So I get a call. Hey, we're releasing you. Thanks. We got another team we're going to send you to, which is going to be a little level below the Pacific Coast League. And, this is who to talk to. It's kind of like Moneyball almost. Like, this is who you talk to. Call them, WhatsApp them, whatever. By the way, your bus leaves at 5:30. So now I have no time to pack. I'm completely unpacked because I'm there for 3 weeks of spring training and games and this and that. And now I've got to pack. And then I'm like, I don't want to miss the bus because in Mexico, they're very cutthroat. Like, you miss the bus, you miss everything. And so I can't sleep. I get to the middle of Mexico. They fly me back to where I'm familiar. I actually waited in a hotel 3 days, and I'm like, I kept getting room service every day because I'm like, well, they're going to cut me. They're going to buy my meals. So sorry about it. And I get on a plane, come to the States, and it just hit me. And I was like, that year I just said to myself, I'm all done. And nobody could figure out why, and I couldn't figure out why. But they say when you know, and I knew, and I came home, and I haven't looked back since. So I had one of the best years of my life statistically on and off the field. And I just had enough, and that's when I stopped playing.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's such a wild ride. Like I said, like I've known you forever, but I didn't know like all the details of it. Like I followed you, but like to hear you talk about the details of that, like it's wild to me. That's absolutely crazy. And you're just one story out of everybody. Like a lot of people probably go through that.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. It's humbling. But what I didn't make in money playing baseball, I made an experience, right? I wouldn't be able to do exactly what I love every day and prepare kids and my sons and players for what they're about to go through and their journey if I hadn't had the experience that I had. So I'm super thankful for them, as much as for a while, to be honest, I wouldn't talk baseball. I wouldn't watch baseball. I was super jaded by the game because of the fact that, when you're told over and over and over again that you have big league power, where did you get drafted? I would get hits and guys would say, where did you get drafted? Where, what organization did you play in and stuff? And I'd be like, I got so tired of baseball that I was almost like, all right, I'm going to just go black hole for a bit. As you know, I went and played some slow pitch softball, but like if you and I wanted to have this conversation in 2017, I would have said, Nick, there's just no way I'm doing this because I just was so scorned by it.
Not ready. Yeah. No, I totally get it, man. I mean, you love something, you put that much effort into something for so long, and it, like you said, you're kind of jaded by it. Like, of course, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt for a little bit. But
exactly, it felt like a bad breakup to me. And at the time, I broke up with almost everything at that time. It was baseball. It was my ex. It was just like removing myself from a lot of stuff. But sometimes when you close the door on some things, you open the door to a lot of other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So with that said, I come home, I stopped playing baseball, and then I ended up playing softball in a co-ed league. And, I see my wife hit a ball off the fence 280 feet. Well, she wasn't my wife. She was just some woman. And fast forward a year and now I'm single. I sent her a message on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, basically I saw you hit. I have a game tonight. Will you come watch me play? And from that night on, I haven't spent a night away from what would be my future wife. And so I'm super thankful for that too, because I wouldn't have with the 3 kids I have,
Yeah, it's so awesome, man. And I want to now get into the impact that you're making on the Southern Maine baseball youth and baseball in Maine in general. I think what you're doing is so important because, when we were growing up, like we had frozen ropes, and that was pretty much it. If you wanted to go hit somewhere in the winter, which is 8 months long in Maine, at least, like that was really the only place you could go. So I think it's so important that you are leading our youth with the knowledge you have, the swing that you have, that you can teach these kids and be the positive mentor that you are. I think it's so important that you're doing what you're doing now. And I know you love it. And that's ultimately why I wanted to have you on, because I want to give you that exposure. I want Maine baseball and New England baseball to grow. And you're a big reason of why it's happening. So I want to thank you, because I never had those opportunities as much growing up in Maine, and you're giving it to these kids now. So it's incredible.
Thanks. Yeah, it's something that I take a lot of pride in, and I believe truly that it's my calling. It's something where I love kids. I love getting, so my thing I always tell parents, because parents will say, well, why do they respond to you so well? And I always tell them that they don't care about what I know about baseball until they know that I care about them. If they know that I care about them and that I have their best interest at heart and in my mind, then they're going to listen and they're going to take everything that I say in, and then we're going to break it down, and they're going to leave with confidence. My belief is if you come in to hit with me, then if I create a more confident player, somebody who's more sure of themselves, somebody who leaves here feeling like they're standing 10 feet tall, to me, that's the most important thing. The athletic part is great. It really is great. But everybody takes their last swing, right? And plays their last game. That comes, but also these kids also turn into husbands. They turn into wives. They turn into adults. When everybody's career ends, but also everybody turns into an adult, and they need the structure and the love and like the confidence to get through life, because it's honestly a rough world out there. So if I can, instill confidence in these kids and make them a little bit successful on the baseball field, which in the grand scheme of things, or softball field, give them a little bit of success. To me, that's everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So I'm going to give you an open floor to plug Triple Crown now. So, I mean, like I said, we have your handle on the bottom. Just tell them how they get in touch with you and all of that stuff going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure, I don't know if I said this because we froze a couple of times. I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me on. I should have said that 40 minutes ago. It really means a lot to me that anybody even wants to hear the story that I had going through baseball, because I was so hesitant to tell it, because I frankly, I'm a pretty humble person in my old days. I didn't think anybody cared. So it's cool to have a platform to talk about it. It brings up old feelings and stuff like that. But with that said, Triple Crown Baseball and Softball Academy, Triple Crown Maine is my Instagram handle. On Facebook as Anthony D'Alfonso Sr. That's basically how you can get a hold of me, on the Triple Crown page on there as well. I'm always looking to see new swings, and I really look forward to meet new people all the time. I think this winter is going to be pretty packed, and you can look forward to a lot of videos and content coming from me on Instagram. I look forward to it a lot.
That's awesome. So one more thing before we get into like MLB news and stuff. The Maine Little League team that got to Williamsport, did you mentor a couple of the kids on that team? How did that?
So I talked to Chase Picanza. I had a couple lessons with him, and his father, Mickey, brought him in. He had a younger brother. They come in and hit with me. He was a blast. He ended up hitting like in the 12 or 13 hole, which, in my opinion, I don't know their talent level well. I know they had a lot of talent. I thought he could have hit up a little higher, but I think they had him down there to roll the lineup. But I mentored him quite a bit, and he's one of those kids that you can mark my words when I say this. We can go back to this podcast, that will be a starter in high school and will play college baseball because of his work ethic and because he listens. He's a sponge. He's one of those kids where he's not told all the time how good he is. And I actually think that benefits kids more, because those kids end up working harder throughout the rest of their middle school career and in high school, because you see this too many times. In Little League, these kids are told how great they are, and they lose a work ethic, or they're the kids that grow quicker, that don't end up even playing in high school. So this kid that I had a hitting lesson with him on Thursday, and to watch his growth, it's pretty fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's got to be so rewarding for you, like seeing these kids grow and like turn into like legit ball players that want it and work hard for it. It's incredible.
It's truly incredible. I had a kid when I had my hitting facility in South Portland. He was going to play in the South Portland All-Stars. If you don't remember, South Portland made a run.
Oh, that's right.
And almost went to Williamsport. They played in the regional. I actually took the time to go sit with his mother and father at a couple of games, because they had told me he was in such a bad slump and struggling. He ended up hitting 2 doubles at the game I was at, and he had hit a home run in Connecticut. And I felt like he was my son before I had a son. I had glasses on, but I'm sitting there getting teary-eyed. Like, why am I getting teary-eyed? This kid has no relationship to me. But then it was like, wait a minute, that's why I'm getting teary-eyed. He is big relationship with me. He spends an hour with me once a week, and it meant a lot to me to see him successful. So it's great that when you've played a lot in your life and your playing days are over, that you get to share the success with your students. I never take credit for their success. It's all their hard work, and I don't want the credit. I just get to share that like joy with them internally. That's where it's big for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. All right. So yeah, like I said, I think it's awesome that you're giving these kids the opportunity to come and play and get some swings, especially in the long winters that New England has. It's just awesome. So keep up the great work, buddy. And it's been awesome. It's been an honor to know you for this long, and to I know you're such a great guy, and it's been awesome. And thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I appreciate being here, honestly.
Awesome. All right. So you want to stick around for some baseball talk with us, or?
Yeah, I'll stick around for a little bit. I do want to spend a little time with my wife tonight, as I like my marriage. So if you see me pop off, I'll make sure to, say goodbye. But let's talk some baseball. Yeah. Enough about me. I'm Anthony Dowd. Let's talk some big leaguers.
All right. So Chaim Bloom from the Boston Red Sox, or formerly from the Boston Red Sox, was let go. And the reports are coming out that he turned down some pretty big deals that could have made the Red Sox a little bit better. So I just read a report saying that he got offered a deal for to take Chris Sale and all of his money off the books in 2022, and he turned it down because he wanted more players, or better players, in that deal. I don't know how I feel about that, because I am take his money, take that money off the books.
Please.
I mean, if you're so big on building the farm and these young players, that's just a big contract sitting at the top, not doing anything because he can't ride a bike properly.
Yeah.
I mean, send him and the money out. That's what I would have done. But, here we are, still sitting with Chris Sale and in last place. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go.
So the big thing about baseball that I've learned is that baseball pays you for what you've done, not what you're about to do. Hence the Albert Pujols contracts, the Chris Sales. All these guys are getting money so late in their career because of what the money they made professional baseball. So Chris Sale should have been off the books, as we know, X amount of years ago. I don't know, but he earned enough. He earned the right when he was in Chicago to keep getting paid through all these surgeries. So, good for him, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't turn it down. That's for sure. But
no.
It's hard. It's hard for a team that's trying to rebuild to carry a contract like that on the books and get nothing for it. Just year after year, you get nothing for it. You get a handful of starts, and he's out again. And you read all these headlines about Chaim Bloom, and right now everybody's focused on the Mookie Betts trade. Oh, he traded Mookie. He traded Mookie. He traded Mookie under a mandate from the ownership group. It wasn't him that wanted to trade Mookie. He was told to cut payroll. If he's not going to take our deal, ship him away. And what he did in all that was he also dumped David Price's albatross contract in the meantime. So,
which nobody talks about.
Right. And in that you got back Verdugo and you got back Connor Wong. Jeter Downs turned into nothing. You missed on one of them, but you got what looks to be a couple of good major leaguers out of the deal. Nobody's Mookie Betts. You're never getting Mookie Betts back. And because you were trading from a position of weakness, they knew he wasn't coming back, and you were jamming David Price in the deal. You were going to get pennies on the dollar. You can't fault the guy for that move.
No one wants to talk about the good moves we made, though. I mean, look at the fact that we got rid of Craig Kimbrell. That guy's been completely horrendous, and nobody talks about how good that move was.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's unfortunately the GM title, right? Or right. Yeah, I mean, he's not the GM, but the president. You only get slammed for the bad ones, the ones that don't work out.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you got Xander Bogaerts, who's having a pretty subpar year out in San Diego. Not signing him looks pretty good right now.
Exactly right, but no question.
But it's tough because you brought Chaim Bloom in to win with a lower payroll, to win consistently through the farm system. He built the farm system up, and on the verge of seeing all those players start to come through the system, you're like, nah, we're good. We're going to change direction. The guy did exactly what you asked him to do. He shed payroll. He built the farm system. He was building a young core to come forward. And then you cut him like right on like the 10-yard line. You're like, yeah, we're not going to let you finish this off. We're going to move in a different direction. And now the headlines are saying the Red Sox ownership group wants to go back into a spending spree to draw free agents out. And I think it's all driven by the fact that attendance is down. The Red Sox attendance numbers came out. They're down it was like 9 or 10%. So I think the ownership group is realizing that the fans don't want to rebuild. They want instant gratification. And they're going to throw the whole plan out the window and just go back to the days of like Dombrowski and let's just buy guys, trade guys, trade the young guys away, bloat the payroll, and go win.
So here's the latest rumor is that I've seen a couple of reports that Shohei wants to come play with Yoshida.
Yeah.
So we all know that Bloom probably wouldn't make that deal for Ohtani. Too much money. We're not sure about the years now that he's down with Tommy John.
Because he definitely won't pitch next year.
Right. So he said he could hit in 24 and come back and pitch in 25. If you're an organization, what do you do? What do you do with this contract for Ohtani? What does it even look like?
I mean, I'll tell you what I would do. I would sign him like he's going to be Shohei Ohtani. And then I would have language in the contract that said if you don't make X number of starts by the end of the third year, then it's either avoidable contract or the payroll, the salary resets, because you need some kind of a protection that if he doesn't come back as a productive pitcher, you can't pay him like he's both.
Right.
Because Tommy John, there's no guarantee you come back from Tommy John, you're throwing bullets again.
It's his second one.
This is his second one in a handful of years. Like that's concerning. If I'm a GM, I'm a little bit afraid this guy won't be a pitcher ever again, or he won't be a pitcher for very long after he does come back. So I would want language that says, if you don't make X number of starts by the end of the third year, this thing either voids or it resets. Because I don't want to pay you as a pitcher if you're not going to be a pitcher anymore.
No question. I think you have to go incentive bonus with a huge contract, but heavy on the incentives, like you said. X amount of starts, X amount of innings, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way you do it. Or like, I've also thrown this idea around is like, why not sign him for like a 2 or 3 year deal if he takes it? You know, you have a DH next year. You know he's not going to throw next year. And if he's ready to pitch, have him close. If he's not going to, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's Shohei's a starter and you're paying him as a starter. But if you just have him on like a 2 year deal or 3 year deal, like, what does it hurt to have him just come in and close?
Because if I'm Shohei, I'm not signing a 3 year deal right now. I'm 30, and this contract is going to retire me, and I want it to be as big as it can possibly be. I don't want to sign a 2 or 3 year deal. I don't want to have another injury that takes me off the table, or another Tommy John, or have 2 years where I'm ineffective. I'm going to get paid right now, and this contract is going to take me all the way to the end. Kind of exactly what Bogarts did. I'm going to take my 10 or 11 year deal right now that's going to retire me, and I don't want to have to worry about it.
Okay, it's fair.
As I can't imagine his agent would ever say, "Yeah, take a 2 year deal." That's a good idea.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you're talking about not a middle of the road guy, right? He's a top 5 hitter, arguably, and a top 5 pitcher, arguably, and maybe even higher than that. I'm just being conservative, so I don't sound like an idiot. But he's so talented that he's got to get his money now. And I think you're right. If he has a smart agent, which I'm positive he must, they're going to go for the big dollars.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him in Boston, but I don't know if he gets here, but we will see.
I mean, with a new general manager, maybe he does. Maybe if the Red Sox are going to go back to let's open the checkbook and let her rip, maybe he does end up here. Chaim Bloom was never going to sign him because it went against what he was brought here to do.
Right.
Is he enough to get them over the hump? That's the other big question. If you dump all that money into him, does he make you an immediate World Series contender? Because I honestly don't think so. I think you're still a pitcher away.
I think you're 2 or 3 starters away still.
Yeah,
I think
totally
honestly.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great point.
And you know, where is he going to play? Is he just going to DH? So if he just DHs, that means you got to have Yoshida in the field every night. Yoshida can't play the field every night. You start to get in these weird situations where you've got more bodies than spots, kind of like the Red Sox had earlier this year with the middle infield. You had all those guys come back at once. You had 4 guys for 2 spots, and of course it solves itself because guys get hurt. But you've got a potential issue here with being able to find room in the lineup for other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could see him out in LA, quite honestly, in that lineup.
Yeah, I mean we're thinking West Coast. I think is our
San Francisco's tried so hard to bring in the stud for the last 2 years that I think that they're going to make a ridiculous run at him. They lost on Judge. They lost on Correa. They're not going to lose a third time.
Yeah, they're going to have to back up the Brinks truck, but I think you could be right. If I'm him too, I'm already out west. I'm probably staying out west for now.
Yeah.
Shorter flight home. There's San Fran's well known for its Asian population and culture, and he'd feel like he's at home.
Yeah.
The Japanese and Asian culture there is huge.
I could see Seattle making a sleepy run at him.
That'd be a
just
good one too.
With like the Ichiro, being there and such a legend there. I could see Seattle making a run. The stinking Dodgers, I think, are going to go in. I mean,
because they need more people, right?
Yeah. I think the back half after the All-Star break, we're like, well, the Angels have a chance to possibly re-sign him, but I don't think Shohei wants to stay in Anaheim at this point.
No way. It feels too fishy to me with how Rendon's gone and how they've handled Mike Trout this year. And it just seems, the whole thing stinks to high heaven, in all honesty.
Yeah,
I totally agree. A month ago, I was saying, I could see him going back to Anaheim. After the last 30 days, I'm like, there's nobody wants to be there anymore. Like everybody's trying to bail.
Yeah. That whole Rendon situation, like they never released that he had a broken tibia, like, and all that stuff. Like what? Like we're all sitting here ragging on the guy, and he's had a broken leg for 3 months. Like, what? Yeah. Oh my God, it's crazy. It's a mess.
What's worse, him with a broken leg or Rizzo with a concussion for 2 months?
That one. We can get to that some other time. That was crazy.
Apparently, the medical staff and training staff of these teams is either understaffed or not paying attention.
Yeah. But we'll switch gears on a positive note. The Atlanta Braves, first team in history to have 4 guys hit 35-plus home runs in a season. Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, Austin Riley, and then Marcell Ozuna just hit his 35th last night, I think it was.
And almost nobody realizes Marcell Ozuna is even on the Braves because he gets overshadowed by everybody else.
And I think their starting 9, all of them have over 10, I think, at this point. I think is what I saw. So Michael Harris is over the 10. And then Eddie Rosario, if he gets hot, they could have 5 players at 30 home runs. He's at 22 or 23, I think.
And by the way, Ozzy Albies has got 31. So
they already got 5 guys over 30.
It's unreal.
6.
It's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, their lineup's really disgusting.
Yeah. If they don't, I'll ask you this, Anthony. If they don't win the World Series, is it a failed season?
Depends on whose aspect you're looking at it from. The players, I would think yes. The fans, I would think yes. But I don't know. I would think, how can you not think it's a failed season but then again, you get to the playoffs, you see everybody's ace. So with that said, does that minimize and dim the light of their bats, or are they just that good where it's just the bats overshine all that good pitching? You would have to feel like if you're a Braves fan, it's a complete loss if you don't win the World Series, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this is the Patriots losing the Super Bowl to the Giants after going undefeated. Like, I feel like this would be that kind of an upset where, like, they should steamroll everybody because I don't know who beats them in a 5 or 7 game series. But at the same time, to your point, Anthony, you hit the wrong pitchers at the right time, and you could go dark for 2 or 3 days, and the series is over. Exactly
right. The best pitching always tames the best hitters, and it's just a matter of time. Like you said, it could be in October, which is the worst time, or to peak early as a team. They could get hot right now. They've been hot for 160 games, it seems like, and all of a sudden, you go cold for 1 week. It's all it takes, 1 week, and all of a sudden, here we are. Now we're out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the only comfort I have with that Braves team is that you'd have to have like 5 or 6 guys go into a slump at the same time for that offense to totally sputter out. But against the right team, it may just be enough to have a couple of guys go dark where they can pull them out. But if you're a Braves fan, if you're a Braves player, if you're in the baseball world and the Braves don't win the World Series, I think we'd all sit back shocked that they're not there.
I couldn't agree more, because also the thing we're not talking about is the fact that their pitching staff is pretty disgusting.
It's absolutely.
Their first few pitchers are Strider and whoever else they have, and they're holding teams to no hits too.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Absolutely agree.
Strider's ridiculous. Fried, even Morton at times has been unhittable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and then the bullpen gives up no runs. I mean, there's no easy out in their lineup. There's no starter that you hope to face, and there's nobody in the bullpen that's gonna give up a lead.
Yeah.
No, I noticed that too.
Yeah. Top to bottom, they're so deep, it's crazy. So on the heels of like the Braves just setting every offensive record in the book, the MLB released today that they're gonna announce a Team Silver Slugger Award. You might as well just inscribe the Atlanta Braves now. So
it's already been shipped to them.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. A Team Silver Slugger Award. I guess after the season that these guys have had, it's been pretty ridiculous. Have they passed the Twins yet on the single season home run total?
No, but they're close.
From last year, they're really close.
No, they're close though. I don't remember what the total was.
Yeah, and to say that they've earned that trophy would be an understatement, right? Look at their lineup. They arguably have the best lineup that's ever been assembled, let alone the best lineup this year, right?
Yeah, I can't think of another lineup off the top of my head that I could even come close to comparing 1 through 9 with this Braves team right now. I really can't.
I can't either. There's not an easy out in the entire lineup. And with that said, generally, you find a hole here or there where a guy's hitting, 200 or slumping or what have you. And now all of a sudden you look at the on-deck circle. Oh, there's a guy hitting 260 with 40 homers. There's a guy hitting 280 with 50. And you're like, well, who am I gonna attack? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I said last week, I was like, I'd have a better chance of just throwing fastballs down the middle and just hoping they pop it up.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it. And don't look now, but Ronald Acuna just hit his second home run of the night. He's sitting at 39.
God dang, man. He's going to get it. He's going to get 40.
He's at 39 home runs and 67 stolen bases.
So he needs good? 1 and 3. It's all right.
That's the scary thing with this whole thing, Anthony, to your point, is that you got a guy in Acuna. He does everything. Hits for average, hits for power, has a cannon for an arm, steals bases. Like, there's nothing this guy doesn't do on the field. Nothing.
He set the Braves single season run record this year as well.
Yeah, there's nothing he doesn't do.
That.
So let me ask you guys a question. If you guys are building a franchise today, who's your number 1 overall pick? You can choose from anybody in the league.
It's got to be Acuna for me right now.
Yeah,
if he can stay healthy, it's got to be him.
Shohei
Shohei's got injury history.
A lot of
Trout's a shell of himself right now. Like, we don't know about his back issues and stuff like that, but J-Rod's up there for me. Julio Rodriguez is up there for me.
Yeah,
man, I think I have to go Acuna.
My top 3 would be Acuna, Olsen, and Freeman are the 3 guys that I would take.
Freeman. Mm-hmm.
But if I had to pick one of them, I think I have to take Acuna, although I might take Freeman just because he also does everything but steal bases.
Yeah, I'm up there with you guys. Before the second Tommy John of Ohtani, I would have had to take him simply because you're telling me if I take one pick, I've shirt up the ace in my rotation and my number 2 or 3 hitter.
Yeah,
how can you ever argue that? But now it's like, well, with Acuna, now you've shirt up a position every single night, almost whatever position on the field, right? I feel like he's such an athlete, you could pretty much teach him to do anything, and he would.
Probably.
Absolutely.
And then he's going to hit you 325 plus with all those stolen bases and all those home runs and RBIs. So I think you'd be in good hands with either of those players.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Acuna, you're getting Miguel Cabrera, and Ricky Henderson, like all wrapped into one, but with really solid defense. Like you're getting that kind of a hitter, that kind of a stolen base threat and a speed threat with a guy who's tremendous in the outfield.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure are. He's unbelievable.
It's nuts. Max Scherzer done for the year. This was a big blow for the Rangers as they keep kind of falling a little bit out of contention here.
Falling apart.
He says it's coming from, he had a forearm flexor that was sore and it's kind of creeped up into his bicep because he was kind of trying to overcompensate for it. And he thinks that's what led to the tricep strain. But they're hoping he can be back for the postseason if the Rangers make a run and make it. But, I mean, terrible break for the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, Max Scherzer is still a talented pitcher. He's not the Max he was, and he's not nearly as dependable as he once was. But this, I think, is going to be a season that when everybody looks back is going to be the one. This is going to be the season that either makes or breaks his retirement decision. He's either going to say, look, I'm tired of this and I'm going, or I'm going to come back and make that last run. If he comes back, he will be disgusting because he'll be coming back mad and to prove a point.
Yeah.
Or he's going to throw his hands in the air and say, screw it.
Yeah. I agree. I think, he's a dog, right? If you're a defender, you want to be behind him on the field because he's giving you everything he has, every pitch, and that, unfortunately, in the back nine of his career, leading to a couple of misplaced injuries. But with that said, if I'm playing defense behind him, I absolutely love it. He's a strike thrower. He's a stud, and hopefully he comes back for one more run.
Yeah. I mean, just to think like some of the pitchers that we've had the pleasure of watching, like, yeah, there's those old timer guys that I would love to have seen, like Bob Gibson, Nolan Ryan in his prime. I was just young enough, like I just saw Nolan Ryan on the back half. But like, I mean, we've had Verlander, we've had Scherzer, we saw Pedro. Like, we've seen some damn good arms. And to watch Max Scherzer's career pretty much from day one to now, I mean, I can't argue with what he's put on the field. It's been incredible to watch. I hope it's not over for him. I hope he can come back. But I mean, he's getting paid by 3 organizations right now. Why don't you just be like, yeah, I'm just going to go sit at home and get paid by the Nationals, the Mets, and the Rangers and go play golf.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like Scherzer's career is coming to kind of an unceremonious end, kind of like Schilling's did. Towards the end of his career, Schilling got kind of vocal and mouthy about the state of baseball and things like that. And Scherzer's been mouthy about sticky stuff and the umpires and the state of baseball and all that stuff. And he's kind of, as he's fallen off, he's gotten louder, kind of like Schilling, to a point where people were almost like hoping they'd go away. Yeah. And I feel like Max brought a little bit of that upon himself. I think a lot of people in baseball are like, maybe it'd be best if he just went away because we're tired of hearing from him. Kind of like Trevor Bauer. People were just tired of hearing from him.
Yeah, almost like they overstayed their welcome.
Yeah.
Yep. 1,000%.
And overran their mouths.
Yeah. No question.
All right. We are going to move on to some trivia. Do you want to stick around for some trivia and then head out, or you so good to go?
Yeah, I'm probably going to head out now. I was just going to say my wife came home, time to put some groceries away. It's been a true pleasure. Hopefully we can do it again, gentlemen.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure having you on and listening to your story. And like I said, keep doing the good work that you're doing with the youth up there. It's awesome, man. It's so great to watch and see.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Great having you. See you.
Right, see you, Anthony.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Truly awesome. Absolute Maine legend. Dude, I hope he gets into the Maine Baseball Hall of Fame at some point.
It'd be cool.
He deserves it. He deserves it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 4 home runs in a game in high school. We didn't bring that up. The dude's just been absolutely a baseball legend in Southern Maine, and he's continuing to do the work. Like, he's a Hall of Famer in my book. He's incredible. And if you've never seen this kid hit a softball, you need to somehow see him hit somewhere. It's no joke. He's easily the best hitter I've ever played with in my life.
I got a chance to play fall softball with him a few years ago. I got invited to join a team, and a couple of friends of mine invited me, and he was playing up. I remember the first ball he hit, I just went, wow. Like it sounds different. It flies different. Like almost like a driver, like in golf. Like that ball comes off the bat and climbs a little bit as it goes out. Like,
yeah,
and you're like, it's gonna come down, right? And it just continues to carry.
it just doesn't. It's a sight
Like,
to see.
Balls going halfway, 3/4 way up the light poles into the woods. Like it was
Yeah.
unreal. I mean,
Yeah.
when he got up, he hit it, and nobody would even look. Like it didn't matter because you couldn't find it. It was so deep into the woods.
Yep. He hit a ball. So, like I said, I hit behind him at SMCC, and we were playing at Deering Oaks, and he hit a ball that left the infield, and then you didn't see it again. Like it was already above the lights, and it was already 500 feet away from home plate.
And it almost didn't matter because you knew it wasn't coming back.
Oh my God, it was crazy. So,
like that guy would have killed somebody on 295 at Hadlock if he was right-handed.
1,000%. But
For
so
sure.
it was an absolute pleasure to have Anthony on with us, talk a little bit of MLB baseball too, and to hear his story. Like I told him, like, you know, I've known him for quite a while now, and to actually hear the details of like his entire backstory was amazing. That was crazy. What a ride that must have been.
Yeah, bananas.
So, absolutely bananas, man. All right. So we're gonna move on to trivia here. Do you have a theme for trivia, Harrison, or is it just willy-nilly?
I wanted the theme for trivia. I wanted the theme to be general managers because the Heim Bloom news.
Goodness, I don't know anything about.
But
GMs.
you know who doesn't keep track of stats for general managers? MLB. So I want to get some questions like longest tenured, shortest tenured, like, you know, most wins. None of that stuff gets tracked, so I couldn't do that. So
okay, good, because I wouldn't have gotten any of those. So
yeah. So anyway, so this is more around some of the, I would say, kind of the anomalies of the records we've seen lately. So
okay.
Our good friend Royce Lewis in Minnesota has hit a bunch of grand slams. He's now got 5 grand slams.
He hit a 5th one?
Last I saw, that last one he hit was 5. He had 3.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Oh,
yeah, he had that 3 in that 1 week. He had like 4 in a week and a half.
Yeah, and then he had another one a couple nights ago.
Oh my God.
So Royce Lewis has hit 5 grand slams. So that begs the question, he's already got 5. Who's the Twins' all-time franchise leader in grand slams? Bonus points if you can get how many.
Twins all-time leader in grand slams.
Big name.
Killebrew.
Absolutely Killebrew. Want to venture a guess how many?
11.
Yes, it's 11. Are you looking at
Is it? I'm not. No, that was. Really,
are you looking at the question?
Guess. No, yes. That was a wild guess.
Yes, Killebrew has hit 11.
Dang. That was an absolute wild guess, I promise.
Oh, Jesus.
Dang.
This is not a good start to trivia.
Well, it is for me.
Yeah. All right. So Jose Altuve had that stretch here where he hit 5 home runs in the span of 2 games.
That was bonkers.
Especially
it was
for
like
a guy
7
who's
at
not...
bats. It was like 7 at bats. It was like 5 and 7 at bats.
Exactly. It was insanity. It was like, and it was before the second. He hit 2. Was it 2 or is it 3 in 3 innings?
It was 3 in 3 innings.
3 in 3 innings. Yeah, sure. Which insanity. And before the 3rd inning's over, the guy's got 3 bombs. But somebody else had recently hit 5 home runs in the span of 2 games. Do you know who it was?
How recently?
Like
2
years ago.
2 years ago. Because I was going to say Daniel Murphy during that playoff run, but no.
Oh yeah, Murphy had a bunch in that playoff run.
Yeah, he had like 6 or 7 in that series. Let's see, man, dude, I don't have 5 in 2 games.
5 in 2 games. This is a guy who does not. He really just hits home runs, Nick. That's really all he hits.
I feel like Pete Alonso.
Nope. No, literally, like his stat line shows he only really hits home runs.
Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber in 2021 for the Nationals.
I
hit 5 in 2 games.
My God, that dude. It's like more home runs and singles, or it's even now. I don't know, but
yep.
Did you see that ball he hit last night?
Oh
my goodness. 486, I think. Even Ryan Howard was like
nuked.
Yeah.
It was nuked.
Crazy.
So we talked about J-Rod before. He's the 4th player, age 22 or younger, to have a 30-30 season. Do you know who the youngest player is to have a 30-30 season?
The youngest?
Youngest.
Let's.
So Julio's 22.
A-Rod?
Nope, not A-Rod.
No, I'm having connection issues. Is it A-Rod?
Not A-Rod. Did we lose you, Nick? All right. Anybody want to venture a guess here? Youngest to have a 30-30 season. So the youngest ever 30-30 season was Mike Trout in his age 20 season back in 2012. We'll go one last trivia question wait for Nick to get back. So we talked a lot about Ronald Acuna and all the stolen bases he's had, and he hasn't been thrown out very many times. But who holds the record for the most consecutive stolen bases without getting caught? So most consecutive stolen bases without getting caught. So that would have been Vince Coleman stole 50 straight bases across the 89 and 90 seasons. 50 straight steals without getting caught, which is mind-boggling to think somebody could steal that many bases without getting caught at all. All right, Nick is on his way back in. All right, maybe not. So I guess in that case, we will wrap it up. Thanks for watching us. You can always like, subscribe, share the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook. We'll see you all next week. See ya.